At the top of the page, we have the Kite Suite, which is where you'll find the practice tests that students will be able to participate in, as well as where they'll log in and take their DLM assessments. Next to that is Educator Portal, where the assessment data is managed and monitored. Professional Development is a site managed by our sister center at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, with a myriad of instructional resources. The next is an SEA login. It's a separate secure site that's available only to state-level test administrators. And then finally, on the right-hand side is a link to our training courses. Now, those are the required training courses for dynamic learning maps. And we're going to talk about some other training resources that are available in just a few minutes. Below those hyperlinks in the blue ribbon are a set of drop-down menus. The first is About DLM, which provides background information on the assessment, how it was developed, and all of that kind of information. The next is a drop-down of states, and as you can see here is we have the list of states participating as year-end model states and instructionally embedded model states. We have instructional resources that are divided up specific to that IE and YE model. And then we have our research tab, which provides links to publications and technical reports that have been prepared by our research team. So let's go ahead and we'll move over to our Pennsylvania page. Each state in the DLM consortium has their own landing page that can be customized with some key information that is state specific. But at the top of each page will be information about the model, the testing dates, the actual windows for the tests, the subject areas test for that state, and then contact information. And handy for you are also a hyperlink to Pennsylvania's Bureau of Special Education site, and then an email link for the PA Alternate Assessment Help Desk. Below that, states have the opportunity to insert some custom information. So in Pennsylvania, under the header of additional information, the Pennsylvania team routinely updates the information here to provide reminders and key information to the field throughout the year. So please, whenever you visit the site, make sure you take a look at those notes because they will be updated. They include a link to the PASA DLM instruction and assessment calendar, information about new requirements for assessment coordinators this year. We're also going to call out, and I'll talk a little bit more about this in a moment, information about new password requirements for this year. And then below that, we have information and links about the assessment coordinator data management training modules for 23-24. So going back up to the password information, Pennsylvania had a new technology requirement for this year, starting in 23-24. All passwords must be 12 characters in length for anyone logging into Educator Portal. They must include 3 of the following 4 character sets. So that would be uppercase letters, lowercase letters, numbers, or symbols. And they cannot be among the last 24 passwords that a user created. I don't know about you, but I couldn't have recalled 24 passwords if I had to. But one of the other key pieces of those password requirements is that they will need to be updated every 60 days. They will expire every 60 days this year, rather than in the past, it was 180 days. So if you have questions about that, feel free to reach out to the DLM help desk. They can help users walk through that, but those are the general guidelines right there. And you can share that with the field when you are doing trainings and such. But if we scroll down from there, there are several pages of resources that are available to support both instruction and assessment, but they're also available to support different roles categories, as I said, assessment and instruction, but also district staff resources, scoring and reporting resources, and professional development resources. These filters on the left-hand side of the page can be used individually, or you can click several of the different categories at the same time to further narrow the resources that you'd like to look at. So we're going to start our work today looking at teacher and instructional resources. And as you can see from the list, we have currently assessed essential elements, and these contain mini maps which show the skills pertaining to the linkage levels and the multiple pathways that students might use to get to those different levels. You'll see that we have a list of essential elements for each of the content areas: ELA, mathematics, and then further down on the page, science. And then we also have currently tested. We have the complete lists of the essential elements and then the currently tested for each of the content areas. Further down on the page, we have a link to the DLM familiar text for English language arts. And I'm going to go ahead and click on that one, which takes us over to the instructional resources that we mentioned when we were up top looking at the blue banner. It gets you to the same place. And when we talk about familiar text, these are resources that are available at the various grade levels. And as you can see from the bottom of the page, there is a hyperlink to the text by grade. So we're going to take a look at this point at the grade 3, and I'm actually going to open that in a new tab so that I can manage this a little bit better. And as you can see, we will have familiar texts that you all are probably very familiar with: Henry and Mudge, My Father's Dragon, and Ramona Quimby, age 8. And if you click on one of those drop downs, you'll find a whole set of stories related to Henry and Mudge, as well as informational texts that have been developed centered around that theme of Henry and Mudge. Let's make sure that we've covered all of that. And we'll go back to our instructional page. And I'd like to point out that there is a tab at the top here for mathematics and for science. So let's take a look at mathematics. One of the key things here, in addition to the other resources that were also available on the English Language Arts tab, is that there is a mathematics glossary. So let's take a look at that for a quick moment. And you'll see we have terms related to the assessment and to the essential elements that may be helpful in instruction and practice. On the science tab, we wanted to point out that we have a series of instructional activities that are also available. And you'll see that there are examples for each of the grade bands across each of several of the essential elements. Let's take a look at this one for daylight hours. This is for grade 5. And when you open up that hyperlink, you'll be taken to a document that will provide you with information about an activity related to the topic. It will provide the target level information, the precursor information, activity title, what essential elements or essential questions, that you would be working on, activities to engage the student, materials. And then followed up, you'll have direct information for each of the levels that we've discussed as the learning linkage, the linkage levels. Okay. Now we'll go back to our Pennsylvania page and we'll continue with a new one. Let's take a look at the professional development filter. And in this filter, we see that some of our Pennsylvania resources have been tagged for this filter, including those assessment coordinator data management modules that we mentioned earlier, and also the supporting students with blindness and visual impairment during the PASA DLM assessment resource. For today, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the site that is available from the sister center that I mentioned earlier at the University of North Carolina. Just click that link. And we have a new website. From here, you'll see that we have exemplar text supports available. And there's a whole series of resources there, broken down by grade. And information about Tar Heel Reader. Tar Heel Reader is a large, publicly available, open source website that is a collection of literature and books that people have submitted that can be used in instruction. We have our instructional resources. And under instructional resources, we have DLM essential elements, unpacking, text resources, communication supports, writing resources, and lesson supports. Professional development is the next tab. The key thing that I want to point out here in the professional development section is that the modules that are provided here can be grouped and accessed in alphabetical order or as packages. And those professional development packages focus on a specific topic and are grouped as a set of modules together on a specific topic. Those include Foundations and Instruction for DLM, getting started with students working at the initial precursor linkage level, from shared reading to reading comprehension, from emergent writing to writing composition, and the last one is moving students from initial to distal precursor linkage levels in mathematics. And if you take a look at one of the links, we'll start with the moving students from distal precursor. This seems to be one of the most popular. You'll see that it is a comprehensive document that provides information about the purpose of the package and the development. There are approximately 10 hours of professional development in this particular one that focus on mathematics, how to use the modules, information about obtaining the CEU credit, and then details and resources for each of the modules. So unitizing forms of numbers, composing and decomposing shapes and area, composing, decomposing, comparing numbers, counting and cardinality, and so on. And then from there is a breakdown of the objectives and for each of the units within and the modules, and then background on the authors. So as you can see, there's an extensive selection of resources, both for instruction and professional development available on the Dynamic Learning Max professional development site. And that is separate, as I said, from the main DLM site. Okay, so from there, I'm going to reset the filters. And this time we're going to choose teacher and assessment resources. And be reminded that some of the resources that we'll be reviewing in the next few sections here are related to assessment, but as we highlighted earlier, assessment is directly related to instruction. We talked about the assessment, evaluation, planning, and instruction cycle earlier. So the first one we want to point out is the accessibility manual. And this provides guidance on the selection and use of the various accessibility features that are available for the DLM alternate assessment. There are a set of blueprints, one for each content area, one for ELA, mathematics, and science. And these provide the EEs that are assessed for each of the content areas. Catching up the slides, so when I go back. Okay. We'd also like to bring your attention to the Educator Portal User Guide that provides guidance and support for teachers and tasks within Educator Portal, such as completing the first contact survey and the personal needs and preferences profiles. Then we have a set of educator resource videos. These are not required training, but very helpful. It can be used as training and as resources to help you with the tasks that you'll be working with in Educator Portal. The videos range from just under 3 minutes to 30 minutes, so they're very short. They provide step-by-step demonstrations on how to perform the different tasks in Educator Portal, and they provide an overview of testlets, and this one here is on accessibility within dynamic learning maps assessments. So there's a whole set of them. Yep. Next up, we'd like to take a look at the materials collections lists. These are lists of the materials by grade and subject area that are commonly used in the DLM assessments, and they're broken down by the content area. You'll find one for ELA, mathematics, and science. And we also have the parent brochure that explains the Dynamic Learning Maps assessment and is specific to Pennsylvania. It's available in English, and there is a Spanish translation available as well. And then we have a number of other Pennsylvania resources that you're likely already familiar with. And then the DLM Test Administration Manual. So that manual is probably one of the most important ones that we encourage teachers to review and become familiar with. It includes information for them on preparing and administering the assessment, including allowable practices, which is important. All right, let's try another filter here and reset. And let's take a look at some of the resources available for parents. We mentioned a moment ago the parent brochures. These are also tagged under the parent filter and available. Then we have the DLM performance level descriptors, which will provide an overview of those knowledge, skills, and understandings we've been talking about that students typically demonstrate at specific performance levels for the DLM assessments. There are a set of score videos. If we reset, let me bring those up for us. Similar to the videos, the helplets I showed you a moment ago, they're a set specific to scoring and reporting. We have one new one that was introduced this year on how to interpret and use DLM score reports. That one's 10 minutes long. We have what do DLM assessments measure? What is mastery? And information contained in a score report, and how score reports can be used. They range from 4.5 minutes to 17 minutes. And then the last couple of things we'll look at, actually, let's reset this, refresh the page, the scoring and reporting again. We'd like to share with you that we also have a set of sample student score reports available, one for each of the content areas that can be used with teachers can use them. They're good for conferences with families and guardians. We also include a Spanish translation template down here at the bottom, and then a brochure from DLM about talking with parents about score reports. And that is the end of our tour for today. So hopefully you'll be able to take some time and go back and walk through some of those resources.